Welcome to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know, those government people, they make regulations and laws that affect you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Leonard, the village of Oxford, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that you elected. And the committees and the commissions that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that really important meeting or not. And the result can be a very taxing situation.
Like David said, you want to attend these meetings because if you don't, there are surprises that will pop up. And we call those surprises sometimes humor. And within this program, we talk about various meetings that there is humor that'll be, you know, kind of out front, and humor that kind of is set back a little.
And those surprises can get a reaction from you.
Again.
They did what?
They did what? Yeah, they did that. And the other thing that we do is one of us establishes rumors.
If you say a rumor long enough, it becomes the truth. Did you know that?
I figure that's a pretty good plan that we'll work on them, okay? Well, a number of meetings that we're going to talk about. One is the Oxford Village Council meeting, which occurred on August 1st. Also, a second meeting of the Village Planning Commission occurred on August 1st also, so we're going to discuss that. And finally, the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting, and we may have some little tidbits at the end.
Tidbits?
Tidbits.
Well then, let's go.
Not to be confused with Timbits.
Well, I always like Timbits. Tidbits
Right.
are mysterious.
Yeah, they are. Okay, so let's get on with it, shall we? Okay. We're going to talk then about the Oxford Village Council meeting. Sue Bassard is the president and the chair. Eric Dolan is the vice chair. Maureen Helmuth and Dave Bailey serve on that council, and Tom Kennis serves on it. But Tom Kennis was absent for this particular meeting. I think he was out of town.
But still
He's
had a quorum.
businessman. He had a quorum. Yep.
Okay.
Bob Davis, of course, the attorney, he sits in on these meetings as well. And the assistant to the manager, or assistant to the assistant manager, I guess I might say, huh?
Well, to the temporary manager.
To the temporary assistant. Okay. Anyway, his name is Drew, and he was there. And the new clerk that they just hired, the village clerk, Karen O'Connor, was there to take minutes. Okay? So, we'll get on with it. They did the Pledge of Allegiance. They got the preliminaries out of the way pretty much. The main discussion was the interim manager that interim, yeah, that guy.
Oh, they got an intern.
You know who it is?
No.
Aha. Tell me more.
I just know what it is.
Okay, you got it. Okay, the interim manager, and Bob Davis was responsible for setting the contract with this gentleman. He was interviewed by the village council, I believe, in the last meeting. His name is Evan Teach, and he's from Illinois. Actually, he is going to continue to live in Illinois, Chicago, I believe, and will fly back and forth.
So they're interviewing for yet another temporary manager or a full-time manager?
They're looking for a full-time manager yet, and this guy is going to be hired and did get hired during this particular meeting. And I'm going to tell you more about this that went on. The review of the contract, Bob Davis pointed out that this gentleman will be paid $98 per hour. He'll be working 32 hours a week, but $70 per hour is what he'll actually receive. The remainder...
Are they hiring him or hiring the organization for which he works?
They're hiring that organization for which he works, which handles his insurance and other incidental costs.
So we're hiring a contractor?
We are hiring under contract this guy under this company. So,
on a full-time basis?
Yes, I guess you'd consider it full-time basis because the village council, or the village is closed on Friday, so it only works 4 days a week, which is 32 hours.
So is what length of time is the contract for?
I believe it can be terminated anytime. I'm not sure exactly what the terms of that particular portion of the contract is.
Okay.
But if you anticipate that he's going to be there for a week, a week's pay would amount to about $3,136 the cost to the village.
But he'll be commuting every week.
He'd be commuting every week. If he gets paid by the month, if he's here for a month without overtime, he would be paid $12,544 for the month.
Or his firm will be.
Well, he will be, that's $98 per hour. He'll get paid $70 per hour.
Okay.
So anyway, that's still substantial. And the full amount that the village has to pay, of course.
By the way, I've been asking for a raise.
This is sounding pretty enticing, isn't it? I don't think it's going to happen. Talk to the Communications Commission and see how they can help you out. He bites the dust again. Anyway, this pay, should he remain for the year, amounts to over $150,000.
That's not chump change.
It's not. It's quite a bit more compared to what the existing manager used to get paid. That
Well,
left.
there's salary and then there's something called total compensation. Mm-hmm. And were you talking about total comp before?
I'm talking about the total cost to the village.
Okay.
So about $150,528.
I mean, compared to the other the previous manager.
Yep, which was about a little over $60,000 per year, I believe.
That
in
was total
neighborhood.
comp?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going to spread a rumor now. We do think that the village has an eye on a particular individual to fill a full-time job.
Okay.
You're supposed to spread that rumor. Okay?
I'm still chewing on it.
But we'll have to see what happens here, okay? But that took care of the Oxford Village Council meeting they had, rather short, and they voted to have this gentleman hired. It was unanimous. As I said, Tom Kennis wasn't present. He wasn't there, so he didn't vote on this particular issue. I think he might have been the smartest guy of the group. I'm not sure.
Was that unanimous?
It was unanimous.
Okay.
You don't quite agree with that, but anyway, you got something to say about that?
Nope.
Okay. Not even a little itty bitty little rumor or anything?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. All right.
This is better than rumors.
It is, okay. Yeah, it could be. Village Planning Commission meeting was the next thing that they had. And of course, Jack Curtis serves on that board. Gary Douglas, who was usually is the chair of that board. Both those gentlemen were absent, but they were excused, for not being there. Gary Deeg was there, Russell Gill, Adam Johnson, and Maureen Helmuth. Maureen made a motion that Rose Bema, who serves on this board, be appointed as the temporary chair. So they all agreed. Yeah. Everybody except Rose raised her hand. So she was put in that position.
Rose has had a lot of experience
Well, she has.
for the
Yep.
village.
Yep, she's pretty knowledgeable. And she was with the village council for a while, I believe. And she served other capacities,
And I think she
through
was
the
the
years.
clerk at one time, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was, or a number of years back.
So
But anyway, so the Pledge of Allegiance.
she knows the machinery.
She knows the machinery, and best yet, she knows the people around the machinery.
Absolutely.
So they did the pledge. They approved the agenda. Minutes for June 6th were approved quickly, and notice how quickly she's going through this. This is probably the shortest meeting they've ever had in history for the Planning Commission.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Right. And they did have a public hearing, which they had to cover. Proposed sign ordinance amendment.
Again?
Again, well, they brought this up as public hearing. It has to be brought before the public. I believe it's 3 times.
No, they bring sign ordinances up and dip them in and ring them out from
Yep.
time to time, don't they?
Right. Now, do you remember what that sign ordinance change was?
Didn't it have some, well,
Footage.
the square footage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to go 4 by 8.
I was
instead of-
thinking of electronics, but that's a different
Right.
one.
Yep. Instead of, in other words, they're looking at roughly about 2 foot larger in terms of signage. And you know what? We'll talk more about that when we come back right after this. Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here talking about the Planning Commission meeting for the Village Council. Or Village Council, for the Village of Oxford.
The village.
For those
Oxford.
guys. Yeah. For those great people in that community. Anyway, Rose Bima is heading up this group as a temporary chair. And we were talking about the signage. They're looking for an amendment to the signage, and also the distance from a building. They said that it shouldn't be any less than 3 feet from the building or from the sidewalk. Is part of the ordinance that they're under discussion. And so they did talk about that.
Allowing for people to walk by the sign.
Yes. And
You're talking about sidewalk signs.
no, we're talking about like business signs alongside the sidewalk. It's got to be back 3 feet from the building. You know, some of these are pretty tight quarters.
But they're not suspended signs. They're sitting on the
They're
sidewalk.
sitting on, no, not on the sidewalk.
Why not?
Well, they can't put them on the sidewalk.
So it's 3 feet.
You see
It has
people-
to be 3 feet from the wall.
Yeah, pedestrians will be climbing over the sign to get.
Well, it's 3 feet from the wall. But so what kind of a sign are you talking about? One that's
Well-
hung off the building?
No, well, that's a special sign that they'd have. It could be on the side of the building. That's a separate ordinance.
But it has to be at least
This is
3
a
feet off the
freestanding
building?
sign. This is a freestanding sign. Freestanding sign
Okay.
located on poles, that kind of thing. No blinking signs
Freestanding on the,
on the property of the business.
but not on the sidewalk.
Not on the sidewalk. Did you get that?
So they don't get a sign.
Hey, somebody's going to get a sign over here. It's not going to be them. Anyhow, so anyway, they closed the hearing then, and Helmuth, Maureen, she made a motion that they adopt the amendment for the signage, and all of the people voted yes, let's go ahead forward with it. And guess what? That was the end of the meeting.
Ta-da.
That was history.
Man,
I
you're
don't-
ripping right through this stuff, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I was. They were. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I mean, that's probably one of the fastest planning commission meetings I've ever been involved in.
Wow.
Let alone the village council meeting was rather short too.
No kidding.
Yeah. So some
Must be trying for that OACCC record.
some type of record is right. And I can recall, being on the village council where, Lord, it would go on and on and on and on. It seems like about 2.5 hours sometimes. But
2.5 was sort of average.
yeah, you used to shoot those, didn't
I
you?
used to.
Yeah.
That's a challenge for a person that's running video.
Yeah. When you were a little kid, you used to do that here.
When I was a little kid.
Right. Okay, well, let's talk about the last meeting, and that's the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting. Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting. That was held on July 27th. Mike Young is the chairperson for this particular board. Tom Berger serves on it as a pro tem, and he was absent that evening. He was excused absence. And Jack Curtis sits on that board. Ed Hunwick, but Ed Hunwick was absent as well. John Nold, who's new to this board, was there. Kelly Rossner Myers, who I don't think she's ever missed a meeting.
No.
Mike Spiz.
She's been on that board as long as I've
Yeah,
been around.
and Mike Spiz, he was not there as well. So
Okay.
anyway, so they went.
Did they have a quorum?
Oh, they
per
did
se?
have a quorum.
Okay.
So they charged ahead. You can hear the bugle.
Damn the torpedoes.
They were running. And so they did the pledge. They did the preliminaries. Agenda, they had some changes to it, but they were all minor changes to the agenda for the evening. They were just swapping things around. Like David can't be first. He's got to be last. And that kind of thing. Okay. Minutes, July 13th. They were approved quickly. But Kelly Rossner, she wanted clarity on the hazardous ground waste, testing. Remember we talked about that at one of the other meetings we had here, one of the other sessions,
Yeah.
and felt that, under the DEQ or one of those groups that governs all you
Department
good
of
people out there.
Environmental Quality.
Yeah, they want to make there's a procedure that they have that virtually every property should be tested, for hazardous waste of some kind. But anyway, so she made a comment about that, that she wanted clarity in the minutes about what she presented. And so they noted it and went on and approved the minutes. Public, non-agenda items. Oh boy, did they have non-agenda items?
Did they?
Oh,
Well then.
first of all, the room was packed.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That sounds like a torches and pitchfork meeting.
It kind of was. And the first guy,
Love
Mr.
those.
Childs, he stood up and he lives on in Stony Creek, on Stony Creek Drive, and he's
Stony
against
Creek or Stony Lake?
Stony Lake. Yeah, Stony Creek.
Stony Creek's up by Rochester.
Oh, this is Stony Lake.
Okay.
Did I say Stony Creek?
Yep.
Okay, I stand corrected. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Give him a raise. Anyhow,
Pat on the back
maybe
anyhow.
not. Pat on the back? Okay.
boy.
So anyway, so he was complaining about the development. Remember they were going to do on Market Street? Multiple family
Yes.
condos in that area. And he did talk about the traffic level and so forth, that he was concerned about that. And then the next person to step up was Karen Keller. And she was concerned about the density of the development. Are there going to be 200 condos? Or are there going to be 50 condos? Or, whatever.
No one's defined that yet, have they?
No one has defined that. There's some suggestion that it's going to be over 100, but it's hard to say. They haven't provided a site plan, so you don't really have that information yet. So stay tuned to the dial. Bruce Myers stood up, and he again was concerned about density, and he said also build-out plan. He said to the master plan, he said needed to be a serious consideration. That there should be ordinances involving where you can only do certain things, within that property layout,
Yeah.
for the zoning.
This was, they were thinking about rezoning, right?
Yes. Well, that's what they'll probably have to do. But they'll probably go under a PUD on this. Plan,
Unit development.
you got it. Okay. I was waiting for you. I could see the little
Acronym
wrinkle
master
forehead.
over here.
Okay, good job. You still remembered it. Okay, so there were questions on the board that represented various considerations about this development. Now, keep in mind that this is a time for the public to speak, and there shouldn't be a two-way conversation going between the commission and the people that are in the public forum,
Right.
right? Unfortunately, it got a little carried away and a little out of hand.
Robert's rule?
Yeah. And what happened is a number of people actually became quite, what do I want to say?
Animated.
Animated, obnoxious,
Aggravated?
aggravated, very upset with the commission, and actually were rude to the commissioners, in a sense. They want to know, for example, who on the commission represents various factors, within the community.
Ooh.
So they would know who to talk to concerning issues that they have. They knew who Callie Rossner-Meyer was. She's protective of the horse country out there in the agricultural area, and apparently they discussed that.
These people are appointed, right?
They're appointed.
And they're appointed at large, not as representatives of geographic areas.
Right, and according to state regulation and the way Open Meetings Act dictates, this was not carried on according to Robert's rules or the Open Meetings Act.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about that when we come back right after this.
Hi, it's Connie from Connie's Kitchen. I just wanted to remind you to watch us on OCTV and Uverse. And
Okay, cut.
this is Connie from Connie's Kitchen at Treetop Lodge, reminding you to watch my program on OCTV and on Charter. And
Cut.
Hi, it's Connie from Connie's Kitchen here at Treetop Lodge, reminding you to watch us on OCTV and YouTube and Charter. And
Alright, cut. I think you forgot your lines, Connie.
I think I don't have
Should
lines.
have called lines.
Lines, there we go. Lines. Okay, 3, 2, 1
Here we
me.
go. 3, 2.
Join me here at Treetop Lodge. This is Connie from Connie's Kitchen, reminding you that you can watch us on OCTV and YouTube, Charter Channel 199, Uverse Channel 99. Can you imagine if we had to go through this every time? Yeah, right? Okay, see ya. This is Connie from Connie's Kitchen here at Treetop Lodge, and I want to remind you to join me here at the Lodge for Connie's Kitchen on OCTV, on YouTube, on Charter Channel 199, on Uverse Channel 99, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And we were talking about the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting, and there was a lot of pitchforks fires going on
Yeah, that's right.
out in the audience during the public
Torches
forum.
and pitchforks.
Yes. And one of the gentlemen that stood up was Mr. Rossner and
Myers.
Myers. No, not Myers. Mr. Rossner. That would be
Oh, that
her
we call
father,
it-
probably.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
I'm thinking that's who it would be.
All right.
And he said over the past, he says, a subject came up about the gravel pits and the property that now houses 5 acres of gravel, the pit.
Okay.
It used to be trees and that kind of thing, you know, and just rolling land. And he said the first thing they did when they came in is they eliminated all the trees and sold off the lumber. He says, and they left whatever debris there was, you know.
Hard to get a gravel without doing that.
It is hard, yeah, unless you can somehow lift it up and, you know, but
Roll
that's
it
not going to
back.
happen. Roll it back and then cover it back up again. But there's a pretty big hole there now in terms of the gravel.
They
where
call it a pit.
They call it a pit. That's why it's called a pit. Jenny Benson was the next one to speak, and she lives on Barber Road, and she said that
That's on the east side of 24.
it is. And she said that she's unhappy with this particular board. Again, it was fire and pitchforks. And that the only one that made sense on this board was Callie Rossner. So I think she had her own club there, possibly. I'm not sure. But anyway, it seemed to lean in that direction. And then Mary Ann Kane, she stood up and she said, and she's from Stony Lake, and concerned the market development thing again. She wanted to switch directions here a little bit. That she's concerned that there's going to be little green space available, less green space, and she would prefer to have green space. Rezoning to C1 is, you know, from C1 to the R designator is, she thought was a ridiculous move.
That space is now considered a green space.
Well, the space right now on market is actually commercial, which is C1. So anyway, they did talk about a PUD, which we discussed. That would be a consideration, she felt, that a contract could be put together, you know, in terms of the best benefit and, you know, to the residents. Todd Bell, who used to be the chairperson, he stood up and he says, hey folks, I want to tell you, there's one thing, he says, stay true to your morals and your beliefs. He was pointing at the commission. He says, and he said, we did. He said, all the years I've been on this board, he said, we did protect horse country and agricultural. And he says, and I know many of the people on this board, they will do the same thing. He said, it is a thankless job as a planning commissioner. So he said, these people don't get paid a penny. And he said, they take a lot of abuse. And he said, how do I know? He said, for over 12 years, he said, I served, he says, on this board. And he said, I took lots of abuse, but he said, you have to do what's in the right of the community. And he said, and so he said that was what he used in terms of essence to make decisions.
It ain't just a farm. It's 6 miles by 6 miles.
Right. Very sharp guy, Todd Bell. Next person was Mr. Hutchins, and he stood up and he said, if you keep everything the same in terms of zoning, he said, north of Ray Road, don't change a thing. He said he would be happy forever. If you're doing Snoopy dances. So anyway, I don't think that's going to happen because change is coming regardless. But they can protect it through ordinances.
North of Ray Road.
Yeah, north of Ray Road. And that area is
That's
pretty much
school.
agricultural and north, not south. South would be the school.
Okay.
Are you lost?
No.
Lost has been found. Okay, we'll go forward.
North of or North Ray Road?
North of Ray Road.
Okay.
You got it. Okay. Let me see. What else? Jack Curtis got into quite a discussion with Callie Rossner on some of these things, but he did want to discuss M24 MDOT meeting that he had attended. He said, and the water loop has been completed as far as the water main, and he said that there are more things to occur with M24, left turn lane, that kind of thing. Safety paths, he said that was a discussion also. From Minnetonka to Drainer. that Road Commission, MDOT will provide safety pass at no cost to you folks out there.
Wonderful.
Yep, so that was worked out pretty well with Jack Curtis. Attorney letter he received from Winthrop and Associates. And remember the previous meeting that we had discussed, there was a question about the permit for a private road for the area that they're going to use for the House of Providence property that owns that property over there.
That's down on
Agricultural. Yeah. No, that's not on Burdick.
Oh, isn't it?
No, this is out near horse country, you know.
Oh.
Oh, that neck of the woods.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Okay. I
Used
was
to be a
thinking
shooting
something
range.
else. That used to be the Oakland County Sportsman's Club.
Yep. And so anyway, they want to first of all get a permit to do this, and the attorney stated that as long as they follow the criteria, the requirements, so that there's no hazardous waste, that kind of thing, and they get all the proper permits from the county and so forth, and all the tests are up to par, there's no way that you can stop them from putting the private road in there. And that's pretty much the statement. There was some other indications there as well as far as the attorney's letter, and you folks can gain more by going to our website, occtv.org, and you can check it out by hitting programs, and you'll find it out there at this particular meeting, and you'll find out more about what the attorney had to say for the township. And there's quite a discussion involving Kelly Rosner Meyer and Jack Curtis. Jack held his own pretty good in this, I think, and Kelly got her points across quite well. So I think it was a pretty good meeting, all in all. Unfinished business. They had a master plan to discuss, and Matt Carlisle,
Of Carlisle
Ronstetter.
Wortman. Right.
Yeah, Ron, you know Matt Ronstetter?
No.
Okay. Anyway, he's the representative for Carlisle Wortman as a consultant. And he was there and he presented a program and a map for urban service map area that he had as a proposal. And it was updated in 2012 and needs to be updated again, of course. Every 5 years you have to update the planning
Right.
master plan.
We've talked about that for other municipalities.
Yep, we have. And they have to fall into that requirement as well. Water and sewer area was a concern for potential. Now they're looking roughly about 10 years out, you know, as far as development. And septic and well areas, you know, what area is going to designate, you know, for septic and as well as water. Water is pretty critical because, you know, it's a very expensive process to move these main lines, you know, into certain
So
districts.
it's better to have them in place where there isn't any population yet.
Yeah, right. And then the next question that came up, though, is do you want to change future land usage? And actually, that wasn't definitive.
Is that like rezoning?
Yeah, like that would be rezoning. But Kelly Rosner said you need to have ordinances in place to protect once you decide that's the route you're going to go, because in itself, the master plan doesn't really protect you out there. So, and her point was well taken, I think, with that. So, I think all of the people on this board, you know, recognize that as a fact and something that they need to look at down the line here. Gravel pit, what are they going to do with the gravel pit? Golf courses, what about golf courses? For example, if you take Devil's Ridge and they sell Devil's Ridge, you know, how is it to be broken down in terms of...
Are they selling Devil's Ridge?
Well,
Is that a rumor?
that's the best rumor I can give. Okay. And properties next to it are like 5 acres and some 10 acres. Well, the idea was that you should, if it's taken over by a development, it should match the property that's next to it and so forth.
That
So-
also affects the value of the property that's there, because a lot of people that build next to golf courses have a sort of an enhanced value.
Yeah, they did that on purpose. They wanted to be there. Now it's not a golf course. So what
Yikes.
about green space, you know, in there? So that's pretty important too. So anyway, all in all, it's a pretty interesting meeting. You folks, as I say, can get more by going to our TV station. What do you have coming up next?
We got meetings. On 8/14 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Council is meeting. You love that one.
Oh, yeah.
On 8:15 at 7 a.m., or 7 p.m. that is, Village of Oxford Planning Commission, and at that same time, the Public Library in Addison. The board will be meeting. On 8/16 at 3 p.m., the Pollyant Trail Management Council will be meeting at the Oxford Township offices. And on 8/17 at 7 o'clock, the Planning Commission for Leonard will be meeting. And at 4:30, North Oakland Transportation Authority will be meeting in Addison Township offices.
Lots of planning going on.
You betcha.
I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time right here on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.